So this morning I got up determined that God was going to give me a word because I've seen him do it for years for my mom and dad, and I thought, well, he'll do it for me. Yeah. So I woke up thinking, here we go.
Yeah, wonderful.
Woke up with a toothache, my mouth was hurting, headache, migraine, whatever you call it.
Thank you, God.
I thought, God's still going to give me a word. I'm still going to get to church, and I'm still going to deliver it. And I pulled up different things on the internet, trying to read things. And I opened up my Bible several times, and I thought, this just isn't working. So I did it one last time, and before I did, I prayed and I said, God, what does the people need? Yeah. You know, what is it that they need to hear? What is it that I can give to them through you that will help them when they leave and go back out there? Yeah. And I opened up to Matthew 4, so if y'all turn there with me tonight. And before I read the scriptures, I want to give you a preset of what was going on here, and it's something that I didn't even know. I thought, well, Jesus just started his ministry and he went with it, and that was that, but that's not how it happened. So I was reading up before 4, and it was talking about the baptism of Jesus Christ, and that before he started his ministry, he had to get baptized, much, like anybody else. And it, up in 16, it said, and Jesus, when he was baptized, went up straightway out of the water, and lo, the heavens were opened unto him, and he saw the Spirit of God descending like a dove, and lighting upon him, and lo, a voice from heaven saying, this is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. So Jesus did what he needed to do. He got baptized, and now he was getting ready to start his ministry. But before he could start his ministry, he had to be tried. And I thought, now, am I reading this right? And maybe I need to go back and try it again. Maybe I'm not receiving it right. But I went back and read it over and over, and God had to go through these temptations before he could become that minister to others. And everybody's heard about the temptation in the wilderness. Everybody's heard about how he didn't turn the stone into bread. But it was more than that. And that's what I want to really bring out to you all today. It's not how Satan tempted Christ, but how Christ answered Satan back. How he put it back on Satan, and how he went through each temptation. And each one of the temptations that God went through is a represent of something else. So I want to bring each one of those out to you. So Matthew 4, we're going to read 1 through 11. Verse 1 says, then when Jesus led up of the Spirit unto the wilderness. Right there, the first little piece. Even Jesus was tempted, but even though he was tempted by Satan, but he was led to that temptation by God. The Spirit that had came down and lit upon him and let him know, I'm well pleased with you, was the same Spirit that put him into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil. See, a lot of us get in trouble sometimes when we think, what did I do to deserve this? Why am I here? What can I do to get out of it? When instead we should be saying, Lord, are you trying me? Am I in a trial right now that I need to get through? And so Jesus was led by the Spirit of God to the wilderness where he was tempted of Satan. In verse 2 it says, and when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he was afterward a hungered man. And when the tempter came to him, he said, if thou be the Son of God.
Command.
That's the first place where Satan will get us, is saying, if you are who you say you are, do this. And as carnal people, if you're the pastor of the church, you need to be doing this. If you're the praise team leader, you need to be doing this. If you're the person directing this function, or you're the person doing the sound, or you're the person in the pew that's supposed to be praising God, well then why can't you do this? He takes our confidence down and makes us believe that we're not who God has already told us that we are, and that he is even pleased with who we are. So this is Satan's first attack, and he says, if thou be the Son of God, command that these stones be made bread. So here, if thou be the Son of God, the devil always knows just the words to use to tempt us. And this is the first attempt of Satan to give us our temporary needs. Here, Jesus was hungry. He was still carnal. He was flesh. And he had fasted for 40 days and 40 nights to prepare himself to do the work of God here on earth. So Satan said, he's hungry. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to offer him a temporary fix for his eternal need. So he said, make the stones be bread. But he answered and said, it is written. I like how Jesus used the word of God in pretext, because not all the Bible had been written yet. So he said, it is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but be every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. Yeah. So he instantly, no, I'm good. I don't need food to sustain me because I've got God. So Jesus immediately told Satan what God said, and that'll be enough. Henceforth, while I was kind of laughing up here when he was playing that song, God is enough, because I was just thinking that in my mind, God is enough. Yeah. Just the words that comes out of God's mouth is enough to sustain us through this life. Right. Mm-hmm. Over in verse 5, then the devil taketh him up into the holy city, and setteth him upon a pinnacle of the temple. Right. Now I'm going to tell you all what a pinnacle is, because I read it, and at first I said pineapple. Yeah. And I went back and I was like, what is a pinnacle of the temple? And a pinnacle is the highest point of the temple. It's the steep. Right. It is very sharp and jagged, and it is very slippery, because there's no flat ground. It's a place where you can fall easily. So Satan took Christ to this point, and he said, and saith unto him, if thou be the Son of God, cast thyself down. Right. Now here Satan is going to give the word of God back to Jesus. He said, for it is written, he shall have his angels charged concerning thee, and in their hands they should bear thee up, lest any time thou dash thy foot against the stone. So here he said, it's written that you have angels at your command. If you even stub your toe, you have the whole host of heaven to come down and give you what you need. So here, Satan's second attempt is to say, you have the ability to do this, so do it. And this is where most of us make our mistakes. Just because I have the ability to help someone do something doesn't mean that I should. Just because I have the ability to pray and it be done doesn't mean that I should. Because this is another trick of the devil. Jesus did not allow the angels to come down and save him. He didn't want to. He had to go through this temptation. This is the second attempt of Satan to come at Jesus Christ. And at us, he's saying, take over the pain. Satan's saying, here, I've got a fix for your pain. Just call down your angels. So this is how he comes at our carnal body, and the second attempt is with pain. If he can't get through us through our stomach, then he's going to get through us through every other part of our body that aches. He comes at us and tries to get us to use something that maybe we shouldn't. Here Jesus speaks power to him. He says, it is written again, thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. This wasn't a statement. This was a threat. Thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. So see, when Satan comes at us and says, well, I can take your pain away. No, don't tempt me. I'm going to do what God has me to do. I'm in a trial right now. I'm doing something that God has set me to do. And no matter what comes at me, I've got to stay right here and work it the way God expects me to work this trial. We need to get spiritually upset at Satan. We need to want the power so we can use it against Satan. Yeah. See, here I can imagine Jesus starting to get upset with Satan. He's tempted him with food, which I'm sure he was hungry. And now he's put him up on the top of the steeple in the holy city and said, bring yourself down. And he still wouldn't do it. So here God is saying, thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. And again the devil taketh him into an exceeding high mountain, and showeth him all the kingdoms of the world, and the glory of them, and saith unto them, all these things will I give thee, if thou wilt fall down and worship me. Here again, usually man don't make it to this temptation, because usually we've already fell into fix this and fix that. Usually we don't get to prosperity. But if we do, most of us give in, not realizing that God already owns the hill that he was standing on. That he already had the vast wealth and everything that Satan was offering him. See, most of the time we see what Satan's offering us and we like it, but we don't realize that we've already got everything that we need. 8 and 9 was a lie, and Satan only knows how to lie. Here Satan is showing him all these things, but Satan will here again tempt to give us all that we desire. In chapter 9, and saith unto him, all these things will I give thee. In chapter 10 it says, then saith Jesus Christ unto him, get thee hence, Satan, look, for it is written, thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only shalt thou serve. So see, if we can get to this third temptation, if we can get to the point to where we can look at Satan and say, you need to get thee hence, because it's also written, and say, then the devil leaveth him. That's when Satan left him. When Jesus had stood his ground, and no matter where Satan had taken him, no matter where Satan had placed him, he was in the desert and he was hungry. He was up on the top of the steeple and he was in danger. Now, he was looking out at everything that Satan thought he could offer him, and he still stood his ground and told Satan, get thee hence. Yeah. That is when the devil left him. And behold, angels came and ministered unto him. When we give it all back to Satan, what he gives to us, that's when we'll get somewhere. Set him in a place and tell him what he will do and about the Almighty that he will serve. It's restoration. It's giving it back to Satan and us getting back to where we need to be. Yeah. I like up in verse 10 where God said, get thee hence, get behind me. Put something behind you tonight. See, sometimes we don't want to put it behind us, because if we go to put it behind us, we have to face it. We have to grab a hold of it to where we can't let go, and then we've got to turn around and set it down and then let go of it. There's several things wrong with this and why Christians don't do it. First, we've got to look at it. We've got to acknowledge, this is my problem. This is where I have a problem in my life. This is something that Satan can use. It's something that I like. It's something that tempts me. Then you've got to have enough power to grab a hold of it and not let it in you. Whether it's a spirit, whether it's a temptation, whether it's something that you want, you have to be able to have enough power in you to grab a hold of it without it getting in you. You have to be able to turn around without getting to walk back and set it down, give it back to Satan, and leave it there. And then turn around and go on. Picking it up is the first problem. Letting it go is the second problem. Here is where we fell, where Jesus didn't. We are tempted of Satan, and we fall in. If it's not by something we need, gas, money, food, then it's by what we want. It's by prosperity. It's by money. It's by being higher in the church. It's by being higher in my music ministry. It's about being higher at my job. All these things we have to be willing to turn down because, see, in the end, this is when Jesus could begin his ministry. After he was tempted of Satan 3 times by 3 different vast reasons that came against him, then he could begin his ministry. See, all the miracles that God did, or Jesus Christ, God before Jesus was born, all the miracles that Jesus did on this earth, all the healings that he gave was after this. And I didn't know that today, and it really opened up my eyes. I love learning new things in the Bible, but Jesus didn't heal one person. He hadn't led the lame man to walk. He hadn't healed the blind or healed the lame. He hadn't done nothing. He first had to go through it. He first had to face Satan and say, I don't need you to fix my body. I don't need you to give me anything because there's nothing that you can give me. If we get the same in us, if we would learn to get Jesus in us where he's supposed to be and get enough of him, we would be able to do the same. When Satan comes at us and says, here, I've got all this food for you, I just need you to do this one little thing. That one little thing is where he gets us. I can give you all these lands if you'll just bow down and serve me. Lands look good because it brings in the next step, which is prosperity. Satan knows just how to get us. We may need to tell Satan where he belongs. Right. See, Jesus looked at him and said, get thee hence. He said, get behind me. Yeah. And see, if we would learn to put Satan in his place, we might be able to get to ours. If we get to the point to where when we see Satan working in our lives and doing things in our lives that we don't like, we need to learn to look at him and say, Satan, I command you to go back to the pits of hell where you came from, and that you ain't got no hold on my life. All right, until we can get to that point and have the same Christ in us that was in Jesus Christ that day, we're not going to get nowhere. Last night I was in with my grandmother in her room, and she's been having a hard couple of days. And the same thing afflicts her that used to afflict me. Now, do you see how I said that? Used to. You don't allow, just the words of your mouth can allow things to come right back on you. Last night I was in there and I was talking with her, and she was like, Tiffany, I just don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to get out of this feeling. How did you do it? And for a minute I was speechless because I didn't know how I did it. I know that I was here and that I was praying and then God set me free. But then I had to go back and I had to say, no, I do know how I did it. First of all, I placed myself where I needed to be. If you would have told me even a year ago, right about this time last year, I couldn't have told you that I'd been up here preaching. Because this time last year, Satan had me locked up in my flesh and I couldn't move. He had me locked up so tight, telling me, I'm the only one that can give you food. I'm the only one that can save you from this valley that you're in. I'm the only one that can give you the money you need to pay your bills. But see, when I decided that my God was more than enough, that just the words that he spoke was enough to get Satan behind me, that's the start of getting set free. That is the beginning of being able to get where you need to be to live a better life. I don't care how many have to climb and fight and drag or stumble through it, but use the words of God and put Satan back where he belongs. See, going through a trial is not always easy. For each of us, it's different. For each of us, it may be money. For others, it may be food. For others, it may be your children. For others, it may be family. For all of us, it might be all of them, wrapped up into one big mess and just thrown on top of you. But if we would learn to stand our ground, realize what it is that is the problem, grab a hold of it and put it back behind us where Satan is supposed to be, then we can move on past it to the next trial. And after trial after trial after trial, eventually, you're going to be ready to do the ministry of God. And even while in this ministry, we still get down and we still, just because I was set free a couple weeks ago and just because I was blessed and I felt so good doesn't mean I haven't went through it the past couple weeks. Doesn't mean I still don't go through something every day. Doesn't mean that sometimes I'm laying there in my bed and my